Hi everyone, and welcome to another interview. Today with Lars Lamadé about the topic of sports sponsoring. Welcome, Lars.
Hello, welcome.
I think it makes sense to start with a short introduction from your side. So would you like to shortly introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, my name is Lars Lamadé. I'm responsible at SAP for our global sponsorship department. So we have, as you probably know, we have a lot of sports sponsorships and entertainment sponsorships around the globe. For example, FC Bayern Munich, NBA, NHL, and so on. And this all falls under my area of responsibility.
That's pretty exciting. So referring to SAP, how many people within SAP work in the sports sponsoring team?
So roughly 30 people, plus working students, interns, and some temp stuff. But of course, we have also for certain projects help of agency resources. But as real unlimited SAP employees, roughly 30.
And is the main goal of your sports sponsoring to target certain target groups that might be future client, or rather earn a general reach and a positive image of the company?
Yeah, so basically we contribute from our point of view into 4 areas. One is that we contribute to the brand of SAP. Of course, when you see a logo somewhere at the jersey of one of our soccer clubs or at the LED board across or at the venue like the SAP Arena or the SAP Center, these are branding aspects. But on the other hand side, in the last couple of years, we also changed our strategy that we more and more focus on showcasing of our technologies, of our products and solutions. So to make credible reference stories, because the people, the general public, is just more interested in hearing from a famous brand than from any other ordinary, not so well-known company. And they are telling that they are using SAP and they're happy, that's good. But if such a big famous brand like San Francisco 49ers or NBA is talking about SAP, just much more people are interested in. So we achieve always, or we have the goal to showcase or to make our sponsorship partners as credible, authentic reference stories for our products. So in the area of CRM, in the area of ticketing, in the area of sports solutions and so on. So this is the second aspect, branding, products. And third is, of course, as most of the sponsorship partners offer to us, is tickets for the events, hospitality possibilities, where we can invite customers, partners to get a better relationship with them. But we can also use the tickets for example, for employee motivation. So invite employees to the partnerships, to these kind of events, or also for charity reasons. So this is the third aspect, branding, products and tickets, or for our sales, so the unique experiences, what we can offer with our partners, or golf days or something like that. And as the fourth pillar, what we achieve or where we contribute from our point of view is the employees, because employees are really super excited usually when they are able to get to see a sold out FC Bayern Munich stadium and so on. And also our HR is using our partnerships for so-called talent win events. So when they when they are looking for young talents, for example, to join SAP, to make SAP attractive and appeal, and you know there's the war for talents. So we are competing with Google, Microsoft, and so on. And so our HR department loves to use our events to invite some potential future employees from SAP into the cool locations, tell them a little bit about SAP there and so on. So these are the 4 pillars: branding, products and technology, sales or events, and then also employer branding. These are the 4 areas what we have in focus.
That's pretty cool. I also remember from my time at SAP that the tickets were really popular within the employees. So yeah, that was exciting.
Definitely. Yeah.
I mean, you talked a little bit about it right now, but depending on which criteria or other criteria do you or SAP decide which athlete, for example, to sponsor? Like why, for example, Jan Frodeno and not some other athlete?
Yeah, this is a very good question and a very tough one on the same side. So, as you can imagine, we receive daily requests for sponsorship. This might be a local club around headquarters in Walldorf here with the local tennis club, which is totally unknown in the world, up to the FIFA, who is looking for sponsorship partners of the next FIFA World Cup. So we get a lot of requests, and of course, unfortunately, our budget is also very, very limited. So the chance of having new sponsors or that we do something new is quite limited, because we have already some existing partners which we love to work with and also want to continue in the future. Nevertheless, from time to time, we also change our portfolio. We had also some partners where we were not so super happy about the outcome. So, for example, when a partner was only basically interested in our money, but was not interested in using our software, and using our software is a little bit more effort than using a car. When Mercedes or BMW sponsor a club, they put them some cars on the parking lot and hand them over some keys. They have to make probably a signature, and then the players or the people of the organization can sit in the car and drive. When you want to use an SAP software, obviously it takes some more months in preparation for implementing the software, educating the people, training the people. So much more effort. And in the past, there were also some who were not interested in using our technology, and that's why we stopped partnerships with some of those and then looked out for new ones. And we just try to find partners which we think suit best for us, and this could be in several different areas. So reach is of course something. So what is the brand value of the partner? So is the brand value overall perceived positively, or so is the brand on risk because it has bad press all over every day and so on? Obviously, when you talk now about Bayern Munich, 50% love them, 50% hate them. So it could be also that the brand is not perceived within everybody's mind very positive, but nevertheless, overall, I think Bayern is recognized as a good brand to be. And so a brand is for sure something. Then we always check with the partner what kind of technology story we could tell with them. So if this is appealing for us, if they are interested in using a new product from our side, which we are looking for a good reference story, and then in what geographical area the partner is there. So do we reach? So we always look what kind of target audience do we reach with the partner? So what are the demographics of the audience of the partner? So the tennis the fans are probably some different than the ice hockey fans. Of course, you always have also an overlap, but so we try to differentiate a little bit so that we, with all of our partnerships, try to have the most reach. So a golf person is probably not somebody who is going to a Cirque du Soleil show, and Cirque du Soleil show fans do probably not go to sports. So we try to balance it out from the topic, sport, entertainment, from geographic and target audience. So we are active in esports. Esports is probably with a completely different audience than the sailing audience and so on. But sailing is also very attractive for us because a lot of business people are in sailing actively, or owners of companies and so on. So target audience is very important, and also the geographical reach. So we have been heavily focused on US market and on Germany market in the past. And now when you look at the global world map, we are looking for something in Asia also.
And where do you search for these possible athletes? Are you using sponsoring platforms? I saw some when I did some research.
No, not at all. So we usually then we have basically developed together with an agency also last couple of years a kind of a scoring model. So where we have basically a set of questions where we rate every sponsorship with. So it's 25 or something like that questions. And there you can always score from 0 to 5. So we have basically our own checklist. And in the end, it's as I said, we are not looking for too much ones, and when we are looking for new ones, they must be really something good, so and so famous that that there's no big discussion around if this makes sense or not. And so, for example, then with Asia, we did an evaluation and basically a survey with all the market units, and you know, Asia is super big. You have a lot of different cultures. Also, India is different than Australia, New Zealand, and Malaysia, and Indonesia, Singapore, Japan. And so we tried to get in contact with them and said, okay, there will be hardly anything which fits to all of the markets in equal amount of value, but which would be the one or your top 3. And then we decided basically on their feedback, and now it's a question if we get the approval for the budget. And so we are basically looking for the new ones. It's very rarely that something is coming up to us where we think, wow, this is something super cool. We never thought of this one, and let's have a deeper discussion. So most of the times we basically select based on geographical target audience and these kind of factors.
Mm-hmm. And you already explained that SAP is not only providing financial support, but also, for example, with their software. Can you give us a deeper insight in that? What is the software about, and maybe some other benefits you offer for athletes?
Usually, this is not so much the case. Usually, we try to differentiate this very much strictly and say, okay, on the one hand side, we have a marketing agreement, and then when the relationship with the partner develops, they might probably also purchase software, or it's the other way around, so that they purchase software from SAP first, and then we decide to do also marketing agreement. So that's why we usually have 2 separate contracts. In some instances, it could be that and you were referring also to on our website, you saw Jan Frodeno is one of our partners. So this was also something which was sent to us, and also to the development team in SAP. And development team, they were looking for a new cool testimonial for one of the new solutions, and they thought, oh, this might be really good. And then they approached us and asked the sponsorship team, what do you think? And so in that case, usually our software is for companies. So our software is usually not for individual athletes. So if we do this kind of thing, then it's probably a kind of a one-off, and a special team up basically of our development, because they said, oh, this will be such a cool showcase. And Jan Frodeno, we use now also to make him a special dashboard that he can see all of his personal statistics when he's training, so average speed, heart rate, and stuff like that. So all provided into a dashboard for him. But this is for an individual person, and this is not what usually SAP is selling. Usually we are selling software to companies, and in the financials, in the CRM space, in logistics, and so. But it's always good to have, in the end, SAP is about data and data analytics. And so when we can show that we can collect from sportsmen a lot of data and immediately transfer them, evaluate them, analyze the data, and present this to him on a mobile, on his smartphone, in a friendly way that also not an IT expert can easily read through the analysis and make his conclusions, how to intensify his training, when he has to lower his training because he's already in a red zone, and things like that. And so these are the things what we like as a transfer, so that also companies, when they see this example, they, okay, when they can analyze the data for a sportsman, this might be similar for me in the company, and I can do this. So if we can get a transfer from a famous sports example to the traditional business, this is what we are usually looking for.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, it's also such a cool experience for him to have such a sophisticated training with this opportunity. That's pretty nice. And
But usually this is really a special example where our development said, okay, this is such a cool example, and we want to invest also from our side some resources to build this up. Usually this is not what SAP is doing to individual persons or sports. And that's why we usually have this deal, and they get a cash fee from ours and things like that, but not a software dedicatedly built to them. This is usually not, so this is an exception here.
May I ask why? Is it too, would it take too much time to customize?
It's just too expensive, and our software is done for that's why we call it standard software, that we develop our software once and all the companies hopefully can use it, with of course some customizing topics. So one is looking more on this way and the other one is looking it from another angle, but it should be standard software. And for the Jan Frodeno, we did of course a lot of personal functions and features for him, which is not usually, and therefore usually it's then in the end too expensive. It's like when you build a car, and usually you build it also to sell it 10,000, 100,000 times. And if you want to build a car just for you, it would be just go to a BMW and ask them if they can build a car for you. They would say, okay, it would cost you 2 or 3 million minimum, or 2 or 300 million to develop it. And so it's the same a little bit with software here.
No. But which activities would you expect in return from the sponsored athletes? For example, speeches is maybe the typical
exactly
thing.
So we are usually always looking for that they can be a reference for us. So this means that when we have conferences, that we can ask the athletes or the club if they are able to go on stage for us and explain a little bit how they are using the SAP software. So for example, when we have TSG Hoffenheim as a partner, and they are using SAP software heavily, so that they go on stage for us and explain or tell a little bit about their experience using the SAP software, because in SAP we are not a consumer product where you just have seen once an advert and then you go into the next supermarket and buy it from the shelf. So we usually the companies who are purchasing SAP have months of preparation, evaluation. What do they really need? What can SAP? What can do the competitors' software? What can they do? And then they have a gap analysis: who is better here and who is better there. And after weeks and months of high sophisticated evaluation, then in the end they come to a conclusion and make a decision which software they go with. And so for us it's very important, and because when we go on stage by ourselves and tell how great we are, that's interesting and it would be nice, but the customers just want to hear it from other customers and believe it just more if some other customer goes on stage for SAP and says, we are customer from SAP, we use the software in the following way. Yes, it was quite some effort to put it in place, but now we are totally happy. This is much more appreciated, and therefore we are looking for from our partners being able then to go on stage and tell just these customer stories. And as I mentioned in the beginning, when Bayern Munich is telling their story, immediately a lot of people are listening to it and are eager to hear, oh, how Bayern Munich is also using, how they are doing this, what they are doing. Do they measure the contracts, or do they analyze the contracts with the financials and put it together and so on? So that's why this is very important for us, that they are able to be a reference speaker at events, but also then of course classical advertisement. And same goes with what I mentioned also in the hospitality area, that we can invite our customers to events. For example, when we do a sailing event, is usually and having our guests getting on the boat on such a sailing boat. This is usually really cool experiences where our guests appreciate very much.
Mm-hmm. Now maybe a sadder topic. Depending on which criteria would you end a sponsoring contract, or maybe not extend it in the future? For example,
I gave one example already. So where I said we are looking for technology stories, and if a customer is not willing to invest in that area, so this would be one where we ended. It could be also when now. Let's take just an ordinary, we are not involved there. Let's take a volleyball club, and the volleyball club now would come out that all the players are taking drugs or something like that, you know, so where the damage of the club would be really, or the reputation of the club would be really damaged. And of course, if the club's reputation is damaged, then it would also fall back to the sponsors a little bit negatively. This would be things where we would say, no, with that club, we can't work anymore. Or in the soccer space, it could be if, for example, if a club has severe financial problems with financial fair play, and that we say, oh, this club is so negatively in the press currently that they have not their financials not under control. And we, for example, SAP have also financial software, and with the financial software, the intention is that you have your financials under control. And if something like that would happen, and they would get press all over the world, this could be also something where we would say, sorry guys, this is not a good partner for us anymore. So if the reputation of the partner is damaged because of whatever reasons, the players are drunken, are driving and making accidents while they are drunken or something like that, then these are the things where we would say, sorry, this is not the right partner anymore. But to be honest, now in all fairness, in the last 20 years, this didn't happen so far. So it was more than a strategic decision. So customer or partner is not willing to use our software like we expected, and therefore we ended the contract at the end of the term. But we didn't cancel the contract during the contract period. So we just waited until the contract ended and didn't prolong and didn't renew the contract. But it was never the case so far that we really had to cancel a partnership because of bad press or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And also in cases of injury, would you also prolong then? Or maybe it also depends like how severe the injury is, but sometimes you hear that, yeah.
In most of the cases, we have partnerships with clubs. Mm-hmm. And the clubs are not so dependent on an injury of one player. So of course, not when you're thinking of Jan Frodeno, and he would be out for 1 year with a severe injury, then of course there would be the question, what can we do? But then in this case, we would sit together with the partner and say, okay, if he's injured, then probably he has also more time to do promotional activities with us. So he would be still a very good speaker at our events. And so we try to compensate when he's absent and not on the run on the circuit in the court anymore, so that we can use him on other ways. So this would depend, but mostly injuries are not an issue for us because we have mostly partners where we sponsor a whole team, and the team, then they have to find other players who are joining the team, and so this is usually not a topic for us.
Do you have any ways to measure or quantify if your sports sponsoring activities are fruitful, or if you achieved your goals with it?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's the same question basically for all the marketing activities. When you have in a news magazine like the Manager magazine an advert and you see SAP on one page, what is the benefit of this one advert? So it's always, I think, in marketing a little bit difficult to quantify. Of course, we are measuring, for example, social media is perfectly suited for this one. We can measure the reach, but still, if we reach the people, it still doesn't say that they are purchasing our software. And on the other hand side, when people have purchased the software, it's definitely not only because they saw a commercial with SAP. Like I mentioned, this is a big process and a very long process, and is decided by a lot of factors. But certainly the marketing, and if the people realize the SAP in a surrounding they like, and where they get some fruitful thoughts and ideas when they say, oh, in motorsports, SAP is using, Mercedes team is using the SAP software to analyze the data of the races. And this might be something what I can use also for my company as well, you know. So, but it's really difficult to measure. So we measure currently more with some, of course, the things what we can easily measure in social media, but also when we have, for example, one of our sponsorship partners at the conference as a guest speaker. Afterwards, we asked the participants of the conference, did you like the presentation? Was it helpful for you? And if we get good feedback there, then it's also it shows also the value from us. But it's really difficult to compare, like probably Coca-Cola can do when they start a big campaign all over in social media and television on one weekend. Probably they will be able to measure that on Monday, on Tuesday, they sold in the same area or in the same city more Coca-Cola bottles, but this is not the case for SAP. So therefore we are measuring, but a lot of times soft factors. So for example, our salespeople invited somebody to a golf event or to a sailing event. And when they come back to us a couple of weeks later and said, this was great, I had the chance to spend with my customer 3 to 4 hours. Usually I meet him only for maximum an hour in a meeting room. Here I had the time to spend with him 4 hours on a sailing boat or something like that. And then I was able to build up a completely new relationship with my customer, and this will improve my future relationship very much with the customer. And this is also super helpful. But is it really quantifiable? That's certainly very difficult.
Yeah, that makes sense. Maybe as an outlook for the future, which changes to expect in the future of sports sponsoring, and also if SAP will be part of these trends, or maybe of which ones do you think SAP will not be a part of?
Oh, yeah, I think it plays a little bit in our hands, so that the whole sports become more and more digital. So 30 years ago, you were looking in a soccer game at the result. 1-1 was the result, and that's it. Then they started counting how many corners did one team have, how many free kicks did one team have. In the meantime, they are counting the kilometers or mileages which the players are running. Are they attacking left and right? So more and more data is involved in sports to make it also more attractive for the television viewers and so on. And this is obviously a strength where SAP can contribute with all the data analytics capabilities which we have. And therefore, I think this is one trend which started the last 10, 15 years. So to make the fans much more try to draw them much more into the sport, explain them more and more details. When I watch a Formula One race, in the meantime, what they explain, what kind of different tire types they have, and so on, what kind of different technologies they have. It's more and more about data. And this is certainly an area where SAP can play a big role. And so to bring also the fans much more of this information onto their smartphones, to bring them closer to the athletes, to the organizations. This is a trend which SAP is perfectly suited to contribute to this trend with our software, with our mobile capabilities and so on. So I think this is something which will continue as a trend in the next couple of years.
Yeah, cool. I mean, that's positive news for SAP and you. Yeah, I think we made it to the end. So thank you very much for your input. It was really cool to talk to you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.